I'm an ex-waitress. I started waitressing in high school when I was 16 after my junior year. And it was probably one of the hardest summers or 3 months that I'd had in a long time. I was getting trained that summer, and so it was a really fun new thing. But it was something totally different than I'd ever done before because I was presented with so many obstacles that I'd never had to face before in my life. Like, for example, not receiving respect from other people. I mean, I was raised in a way that I was supposed to respect and admire adults because, you know, they were educated, they're older than me, wiser, supposedly. And so I did that when I worked, but it was like I never received back respect from the customers because I was a waitress, you know? So that was just a really hard thing to deal with because it was like I was always taught to respect adults, but they never respected me in return, and I was a worker just like them, you know? So, but on top of having all of those tables, customers would continually badger me about, like, what I was doing with my life, or like, oh, honey, are you going to school? Like, what's your story? What's the story of your life? You know? And it was like, how dare you assume that I am up to no good just because I am a woman waitress? And it would be completely out of the question for me to ask them, you know, like, oh, what are you doing with your life? Why are you just spending the afternoon at a restaurant, you know, eating? So I really didn't appreciate that total power imbalance between customer and waitress because it was like, it was their responsibility to make sure that, like, I was living a fruitful life or a life worth living, or that I wasn't throwing my life away by being a waitress. And so it was like this total power imbalance, and they could tip me. And so it was like rewarding me if I was doing a good job, or just like them being able to judge the way that I waitress or the things that I knew how to do. So, I don't know. I mean, just being faced with so much responsibility, but then also not being respected in the work that I do, and it was really hard work. But, you know, I am forever grateful for this experience because my mind was open to blue-collar workers, pink-collar workers, and the hard work that they have to do and the respect that they don't get out of it is so discouraging. I just can't stand that, you know? So, it was just the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But I learned so much because my mind was open to different perspectives, and my life was put into perspective because whatever I thought, like, small, trivial problems I had with my life were nothing in comparison to the problems that the fellow waitresses had that I was working with. I mean, they dealt with alcoholism, drug abuse, spousal abuse, and they worked so hard, but how discouraging is that and degrading to work so hard, you know, 40 hours a week, not being able to pay bills. That was just like, wow, I'm working so hard, but this is your job, this is your life. Like, this is where you are, like, trying to make a living waitressing, and it was just so hard for them. But they were somehow able to keep up good spirits and encourage one another. They were each other's family. Like, it was a good thing. They had each other. All I can say is that I'm really happy that I'm educated because waitressing is something I couldn't do for the rest of my life. It is too hard, and just like no satisfaction comes from it. I mean, I guess the 3 days off or 2 days off or whatever is a good thing without responsibility, but it's like, how can you enjoy life if you can't even be paying your bills? So, yeah, you know what? It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. You know what? I quit.